You guys like salt? I love salt, especially on fries. But I'll tell you what I love even more. Salty journalist tears. And that's exactly what we're getting thanks to Ghostbusters Afterlife. Now, I told you there's going to be a flow of stuff on this, and they're not disappointing. So we have two more coming out of CBR this time, which I find kind of funny. CBR is always putting this stuff out. If you don't know what that is, it's Comic Book Resources. Very garbage website. They used to talk about comic books, and then, well, they decided they were going to dip their toes into the Just stuff, and, well, here we are. I'm telling you, they're going to make Ghostbusters Afterlife the next Joker. What happened to Joker? Well, it made $1 billion and some. I think it's still making money. And we haven't even got to the Blu-ray release yet. Can't wait for that. Already pre-ordered the 4K Steelbook. Cannot wait to get it so I can watch that movie again. Only went and saw it once. I don't like going to the movies, so going more than once, it's not really something I do too often. But I am looking forward to watching that movie again. So, what are they hurling at this movie now? It's, of course, more salt because of the 2016 movie. This is a good one. We'll get to this one in a second. But here's another one. Why is Ghostbusters Afterlife immune to criticisms of the 2016 reboot? Which I find funny. So this article is nowhere near as bad as the other one. The other one actually calls the film trash. It's written by a very eccentric person, and we'll get to that. This one's a little bit more level-headed. Asks a couple of standard questions. But first off, well, the reason that it's not even really being criticized. I think, so here's the biggest criticism that's come from the trailer. That it doesn't look like a comedy. Fair enough. The first two were comedies. Had a lot of gags, a lot of funny times and moments in it. Particularly the first one, which was very, very dry and witty. I love that first movie. The second one is kind of a kid's movie. I would say the first one is very... If you go back and watch that movie as an adult, like a lot of the stuff that you'd seen, like, you know, even the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper, right? Very, very simple sex joke. But as a kid, that probably flew over your head, right? Flew over mine. I didn't catch that at all. And then I got older and watched. It's like, oh. There's even other subtle stuff in that movie, like Ray, you know, getting a little fellatio and stuff like that from a ghost. But that's here nor there. The biggest criticism that this guy brings up here is, well, it doesn't look like a comedy. And that's true. But I would say I don't necessarily think this movie needs to be a comedy. It can be whatever it wants. Really just needs to be a good movie. And it just needs to, you know, be respectful to the original and be the movie that fans want, which I think it might probably do. It looks like it's going to pay massive respect. The best thing that I've heard on it is that it's a Force Awakens style movie, except it's actually going to do it right, unlike Force Awakens, which was not a very good movie in hindsight when you look back. You know, it was good at the time, but it didn't really stand the test of time. And it could happen with this movie too. But so far, this movie's hitting all of the right notes. Now, the other thing in here is, they complain about the reception of the movie. And Paul Feig, the director of Ghostbusters 2016. And one thing that these articles always leave out when they talk about, you know, why he got so much like blowback. Well, he literally invented the whole blame dudes and, you know, those incels and all that stuff. Like, he trashed people that were potential customers, like, and fans of Ghostbusters. Those man babies need to get over it. Man practically invented that speech. But if you criticize him, well, then you're an istophobe. That's where a lot of that blowback came from. That's also one of the reasons why 2016 Ghostbusters is the most disliked trailer of all time. And they won't let that film go for the reasons I stated in my last video, because it was a cultural win for these people, and they lost it, and that's why they're so mad. They desperately wanted this movie to be a success. They go on and say that it was, and it still made money. What they always skip out, though, when they bring up, you know, how much that movie made globally compared to its budget, is they leave out marketing, stuff like that, the movie was a disaster. It needs to make a certain amount of money to be considered a success, and it wasn't. It was hated. Nobody liked it, and that's just a fact. Now, in this one, we have the usual shill, Anthony Grumgilla, or whatever his name is. He writes this article, as he has written many other hit pieces on cultural loved properties.
Is this true?
Yes, it's true. This man has no dick.
Just take a look at some of the stuff he puts in here. We just go through his headlines. The trailer itself, where he pretty much says that it's not a comedy. Is it overcompensating? Talking about the nostalgia of it. Oh, they're trying to win people over from nostalgia. You kind of need to when you have a film that's, I mean, how long has it been? 30 years for Ghostbusters? You need to get people in there. The best way to do that? Drive with nostalgia. Then, of course, it quickly devolves into defending 2016 Ghostbusters. And I love how they always leave out that the marketing for that film literally was about crushing man babies. Okay, you took a franchise that was loved largely by men and then trashed them and still expect them to show up to the movie. And then when they don't, well, they're still the problem. I'll never get over that. That film invented that kind of marketing, by the way. Then how it connects to the original, trashing it still, and why Ghostbusters 2016 was a very underrated film. And then here was the big one. Glorification of trash.
How dare you!
And he spends the rest of the article pretty much dumping on the original film and the Ghostbusters and how they're not heroes, and pretty much doesn't seem like this author really knows anything about the original movies other than what he learned researching his hard-on for 2016's Ghostbusters, which he probably has a small shrine to built somewhere in his home, candles lit every night, where he worships these very unfunny women. So they're not going to let it go. Now imagine when this movie gets closer to release, this is going to really ramp up. And every time a trailer comes out, it's going to ramp up even more because with the excitement, we have to constantly be reminded that they tried this before. And you man babies didn't like it. You didn't accept it. You didn't want it. So therefore, you're a terrible person. How dare you want to have a movie that respects what you loved? Oh, how terrible of a person you are. So I think this movie is going to be the next Joker. They weren't going to try that with that Invisible Man movie, but this is more of a cultural thing. So, they're going to pick up the pieces and try again. And, of course, this movie will do gangbusters. Unless it's terrible, that could also throw a wrench in there because we don't know yet. But the big criticism they're leaning on now is that it's not a comedy, which we don't even know if it's a comedy or not. We don't know anything about the movie, really, other than this 2-minute trailer. And I think that's a terrible argument because it really doesn't need to be it doesn't need to be a comedy. There's no written rule on what this movie needs to be. It can be whatever it wants. What people want, though, is for it to be a good one. It just needs to be a good movie. That's all it needs to be. If it's a good movie that respects the past, people will love it. Anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe. Leave me your comments as well. What do you think about this? Do you think this movie needs to be a comedy? What do you think the movie needs to be? Give me your thoughts. Also, throw a like up. Likes and comments really drive videos in the algorithm, so please consider interacting with the video. Also, share the video. Subscribe if you're new. Make sure you're still subscribed. Hit that notification bell, and I will see you on the next one. Peace. Also, if you want to help support the channel, check out my Teespring store. There's a link in the description. You can find some merchandise in there that you might want to check out. Also, take a moment. Make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. There's something going on right now, and they've been unsubscribing people. So just take a second and double check on that and subscribe if you're new.